Hey there, it's me. Let's talk about pumpkin seeds. A fall flavor all year long. It's great in savory dishes. It's great in sweet dishes. Today, I wanted to highlight the protein in pumpkin seeds. So when we think of high-protein foods, we usually think of meat or eggs or dairy or even some soy products. But today, we're going to talk about the power that is in a very often overlooked food group, the humble seed. And yes, they are very trendy right now. Everyone's eating them. They're in salads. They're in yogurt parfaits. They're in a lot of things. Okay, so these little guys, they pack a wallop. 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds, okay, so about a handful, can have anywhere from 6 to 9 grams of protein. Now, for those of you who are watching who are trying to eat more plant-based protein, this is a really good option. So 1 ounce of lean beef has about 7 grams of protein, so you can see it's right up there with beef. You also get fiber, you get healthy fats, you get a bunch of different vitamins and minerals. 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds has 24% of your daily value of magnesium. That is awesome. So a good source of magnesium. Magnesium does a lot of things in the body. It helps with muscle function, nerve function, blood sugar control, blood pressure regulation, making and releasing energy from our cells. So many important things. So if you're low in magnesium, which most people are because it's in a lot of leafy greens and whole grains, which a lot of people don't consume enough of, then you might want to add in some pumpkin seeds. Now, how do you enjoy pumpkin seeds? Do you roast them? Do you eat them raw? Do you sprinkle them on salad? Do you put them in trail mix? Tell me in the comments below. I love roasting them. I usually just sprinkle them with a little salt and maybe some pepper, or even some nutritional yeast for a little cheesiness. Or I'll put them in my granola. My granola recipe is super easy. It's oats, nuts, and seeds. And then I just add in whatever fruit I have on hand. This week we had blackberries, so I added blackberries. Next week it might be blueberries or chopped apples. I also like to add in a little bit of maple syrup or honey to sweeten it up and some coconut oil to bind it all together. And then I bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And after about 20 minutes, I take it out, I stir it, and then I bake it for another 10 to 15 minutes. And it is so delicious. It lasts forever. It's great in milk, great without milk. But pumpkin seeds are such an easy way to add protein to your diet. They're shelf stable. You don't have to keep them refrigerated. You can take them with you on the go. So I think they're just a really easy, convenient way to get a lot of nutrition into your body. And, really, I could talk about pumpkin seeds all day long. There's so many benefits. It's not just the protein. There's so many benefits to pumpkin seeds. They help with urinary tract health, prostate health, gut health. Again, because of the fiber and the magnesium. They also have zinc, iron, calcium. Like I said, they're high in healthy fats. So it's just like a powerhouse of nutrition. And I think that sometimes we overlook seeds and we think, oh, it's just a little tiny seed. There's not much nutrition in there, but they're packed with nutrition. So let's talk a little bit about the protein. So there are a few different ways that we can add in more plant-based protein. And if you watch my videos or you follow me, you know I'm all about balance and moderation and including all foods in your diet. There's no off-limit foods here. But if you wanted to, if you're interested in lowering your intake of saturated fat or adding in more plant-based protein, then you could consider swapping out some of the animal proteins in your diet for plant proteins. And I know that can be overwhelming because there's so many different options. We have beans, we have lentils, we have quinoa, we have wild rice, we have tofu, we have tempeh, we have seitan, we have nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables. So many different options. And they all have their own unique set of nutrients, and they all digest differently, and they all have varying amounts of protein. So it can be a little bit confusing to figure out which ones might be best for you. But a really easy way to think about it is to look at what you already eat and consider swapping out some of the higher saturated fat sources for lower saturated fat sources. And then also looking at what you eat and consider adding in some plant-based proteins to bulk up some of your meals. So, for example, every day I have a Greek yogurt parfait. It's plain Greek yogurt, berries, and granola. And my granola does have some pumpkin seeds in it, but I've been considering swapping out some of the granola for pumpkin seeds to make it higher in protein and a little bit lower in carbohydrates. So that's just one example of swapping out a high saturated fat food for a lower saturated fat food and also adding in some protein. So instead of having my granola, I could sprinkle some pumpkin seeds on top of my yogurt. And then I also like to have some shelled edamame. And so if I'm craving something crunchy, I can crunch on some pumpkin seeds, and I'm also getting in my protein and my fiber. Another thing that I love to do is to buy shelled edamame. You can usually find it in the freezer section, and I will add that into salads. So in a typical salad, I have mixed greens, cucumbers, tomatoes, red onion, bell peppers, and then I usually will add in some sort of protein, whether that's chickpeas or shelled edamame or tofu or tempeh, or sometimes even leftover chicken or steak. But adding in some shelled edamame is a really easy way to add some protein and some fiber and some healthy fats. And if you don't like the texture of edamame, if you don't like the taste of edamame, you probably don't like the taste of soybeans. Maybe try buying some that are shelled, because it kind of has a soft, creamy texture. And I personally really like it. But that's just another example of swapping out a higher saturated fat ingredient for a lower saturated fat ingredient and also adding in more protein. You could easily swap out some of your nuts for seeds in your trail mixes, or in your granola, or wherever you typically have nuts. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, very easy to digest. They're going to add in more protein. They're going to add in more healthy fats and fiber and other nutrients. So just consider some different ways that you can incorporate more seeds into your diet. If you have any questions about seeds, or if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time.